This peptide can literally reverse aging on a cellular level. Why are you using it yet? I'm going to show you in this video just how powerful it can be for your skin, for your sleep cycles, and protection against cancer. Imagine feeling younger, looking younger, even as you get older chronologically. I'm going to show you the peptide that can help you get there. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but many of my entrepreneurs are on stage a lot. They do big presentations, they're phenomenal speakers, some of the most gifted, talented humans in the world. I mean, Jack Canfield, someone who I get to work with on his health, and he's written the Chicken Soup for the Soul series and sold more books than almost anyone on the planet. And Jack is somebody who I have a close relationship with now, and he's been somebody who's like, hey, I want to make sure that I look younger on camera. And I even have some clients who contractually, they cannot look older. And it's like, how do you even do that? So I've looked for these little hacks. I've said, well, what are the ways that we can help optimize health? And even when people get into their 70s and 80s, they still look vibrant without looking fake and too doctored up. And so this is where this peptide called epitalin or epitalon came across my radar. And as I started using this myself, I noticed that I was able to sleep better. I felt more vibrant. And turns out, as you look at the research, epitalin was discovered by Vladimir Kovinson. Now, he is a doctor in Russia who was working with peptides back in the 70s and the 80s. And he started seeing that there's these peptide structures in food that can turn on genes and help reverse the clock and turn back aging. And he was very well known because of the ability he had to help his patients get really healthy. So much so that the soldiers in the Russian military, they started getting cancer. The ones that were sleeping by the nuclear reactors, and these nuclear reactors were leaking and causing all this DNA disturbances. They called in Dr. Kovinson and they said, hey, we need you to help us get our soldiers healthy. We can't afford to have more soldiers die and have cancer. Can you help? And he said, well, let me do my best. And so what he did is he was able to discover this telomerase enzyme. And for those of you who don't know what telomeres are, just imagine your DNA. You remember the double helix, that beautiful structure. And then at the end of the double helix are these two tails. And those tails, the longer they are, what that typically means is the more lifespan that that cell structure has. And it's a way that you can predict somebody's biological age or chronological age. And the telomeres are activated by what's called a telomerase enzyme. And one of the major enzymes that Dr. Kovinson found in a gland called your pineal gland, which the pineal gland sits right in the center of your brain, and it regulates all your circadian rhythms. It's our access to superconsciousness or to greater connectivity to the spiritual realm. And what Dr. Kovinson found is that by activating and encouraging the body to produce more epitalin by using this peptide, that people's telomeres were able to lengthen. And now that study has been, a lot of scientists have tried to reproduce it. It's not necessarily that it's the telomeres alone. I think what we realize now is that Dr. Kovinson may have missed some of the other important features because it doesn't actually lengthen the telomeres the way that we thought. But one thing we do know is that Dr. Kovinson ran one of the largest longevity studies in history. I believe it had close to 135,000 people in it. And he used his bioregulator peptides along with epitalin. And he found that the people who followed his protocol were using these bioregulator peptides for your liver, for your eyes, for your heart, for your brain, for your lungs, all the systems in the body, using those every month sequentially. Those patients who did that, the course of his biooptimization protocol with peptides, they lived on average 7 years longer than people who didn't. And so now we're realizing that if you can turn on those genes in your organ, and if you can use this very special peptide called epitalin, which is 15 amino acid structures long, what you'll find is you'll have a decrease in wrinkles. People notice that you get more collagen and elastin production. And that's what they've seen clinically. You'll also find that circadian rhythms get reset. So we use this as part of our reset protocol with our clients, and I've written about this in my book, Never Stop Healing. You can also get my book, The Peptide Blueprint, and you'll learn more about some of the anti-aging benefits of epitalin. The other thing that researchers notice is that there's a downregulation of inflammatory cytokines like tumor necrosis alpha, IL-6. And even in one of the studies, they took this group of elderly monkeys who had sleep disturbances, and the researchers said, what if we gave them epitalin? Would they sleep better? And turns out that that was able to reset that circadian clock. So these monkeys were able to sleep on time, they got more restorative sleep, and they actually started having less signs of frailty. So if you're like me and you say, I want to stay younger biologically, I do chronologically, I do not want to go back and be young mentally. I mean, I'm barely mature right now, so let's just hope I get older and older, but younger biologically. Epitalin is one of the best peptides for that. I've used this throughout my life. I use it twice a year because I want to activate that rhythm in my body. I want to make sure that I've got the protection for my telomeres, that I've got the elastin, the collagen production in my skin, and most importantly, I want to do anything I can to prevent any kind of breakdown in that cellular integrity so that I can surpass what's called the Hayflick limit. After a certain amount of cellular reproductions, our cells go senescent and they start spinning off these inflammatory markers. But with epitalin, you'll protect your DNA, and it's called DNA silencing, where you get this nice synchronicity of the DNA, a better expression in the cells, which can protect you against metabolic disease, against your skin aging, against your brain aging, and you'll even find that you recover a little better. If you're interested in doing more for your health, you'll also want to stack epitalin with a peptide called GHK copper. Now, this is a small peptide chain, and you can apply it topically. You could put it on your hair if you've got hair loss. And GHK copper with epitalin are two of the most potent anti-aging peptides that you can use in combination. And if you like this video, don't forget to look at my other video where I talk about some of the alternatives to Ozempic. There's some great peptides like tirzepatide and retatrutide that I talk about in this video here. So I had a client come to me, and she actually lives in Idaho, and she hadn't slept for 10 years. I mean, and I said, what do you mean you haven't slept in 10 years? She's like, literally, I sleep so light and I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted. My body just forgot how to sleep. She went through a really nasty divorce and had a bunch of stuff happen financially that just really sent her for a tailspin. And she said, I just need help sleeping. And that's the foundation for all health. And so I mentioned this study where they took, these monkeys who were, experiencing a loss of circadian rhythm, because as we age, we tend to lose that expression of melatonin. And I said, let's try epitalin, because she'd tried melatonin, she tried everything, valerian root, you name it, she'd done it. Nothing worked. And the very first night that she took epitalin, she slept. And she slept not only through the night, but 8 hours. And she thought, oh, this is too good to be true. She'd also done some stem cell therapy with us, so she didn't really know what to attribute it to. The second night, same thing. Third night, same thing. 2 weeks later, she calls the office and she says, have Regan call me immediately. And so, of course, the team just got her message and they're like, oh no, something happened. But actually, turns out she just wanted to thank me. And she was so excited because she was sleeping through the night. Now, that was over 3 years ago. And she's found that just by staying on cycles of epitalin, every 3 months she takes it, and she finds that it keeps her body in that rhythm so that she can sleep. Because what epitalin naturally does is it's made by the pineal gland, and it activates the release of melatonin at the right time. And the benefits of that is you get better immune function. And studies have found that people who have this inflammatory response, like with autoimmunity, if your Th1 and Th2 levels are swinging both sides, maybe you get allergies or autoimmunity, what epitalin does is it stabilizes that balance. It works on the thymus gland so that your immune system is actually more intelligent, more robust. So not only are you having that better production of melatonin for sleep and circadian rhythms, you're noticing better skin, better hair, You also notice that you have less inflammation in your body. You'll feel better. So epitalin is a phenomenal peptide that you can use to start making yourself a little younger, so that what my goal is I want to get to live to be an old age as a very young person and die fast. And I think epitalin is the best way to get me there.